What if I told you? The man who acts distant, calm, or unbothered might actually have the deepest feelings for you. What if his silence isn't indifference, but fear? And what if the signs are already there, you just don't know how to read them? Today we're uncovering the hidden truth. Not every man expresses emotions openly. Some were taught to hide feelings. Some fear rejection. Some don't know how to explain what they feel. But here's the reality. Deep feelings always leave clues. If you pay attention to behavior instead of words, you'll start seeing patterns. And once you understand these signs, you'll never misread quiet love again. Let's break down the 5 undeniable signs he has deep feelings, but won't reveal them. Let's talk about something small, but powerful. When a man remembers the smallest details about you, it's not random, it's not luck, and it's definitely not meaningless. It's one of the clearest signs that you matter to him on a deeper level. Let's break this down step by step. First, understand how attention works. We don't remember everything about everyone. Our brains filter information. We naturally focus on what feels important to us. If someone tells you their favorite snack and you don't care about them, you'll probably forget it by tomorrow. But if someone means something to you emotionally, your mind holds on to those little pieces. That's how emotional attachment works. So when he remembers the small details, that means you are not just another person in his life. You stand out. Second, look at the type of details he remembers. It's not just big events like your birthday. It's the tiny things. The way you like your coffee. The story about your childhood pet. The fact that you get anxious before presentations. The name of your best friend. These are not things men usually memorize unless they are paying close attention. And attention is a form of affection. When someone listens deeply, it means they value what you say. He's not just hearing your words. He's processing them, storing them, connecting them. That level of listening doesn't happen casually. Third, think about emotional investment. When feelings grow, curiosity grows too. He wants to know what makes you happy, what makes you upset, what excites you, what hurts you. And when he remembers those things later, it shows he didn't just listen in the moment. He cared enough to keep it. For example, imagine you once mentioned that you love sunflowers. It was a random comment. Maybe you said it while walking past a garden. Weeks later, he sends you a picture of sunflowers he saw somewhere. He says, "This made me think of you." That's not a grand romantic speech, but it's meaningful because it shows that your words stayed with him. That is emotional depth in action. Now let's go deeper. Remembering details also shows respect. In a world where many people are distracted, scrolling, half listening, and waiting for their turn to speak, someone who truly listens stands out. It means he values your experiences, your stories, your opinions. He's not just focused on himself, he's focused on understanding you. And understanding builds connection. You're something important. Men who don't have deep feelings usually keep things surface level. They may compliment your appearance. They may talk about fun topics, but they don't dig into the layers of who you are. And even if they hear something personal, they don't store it. But when a man remembers that you don't like loud places, so he suggests a quiet cafe, that's thoughtful. When he recalls that you're at an important meeting and texts you to ask how it went, that's intentional. These actions show he's mentally and emotionally present. Let me give you one clear, practical example. Imagine you once told him that you feel insecure about public speaking. Months later, you mention you have to give a presentation. He responds by saying, "You're going to do great. Remember last time you were nervous and it turned out fine?" That means he remembered not just your insecurity, but your growth. He was paying attention to your journey. That's not casual interest. That's emotional involvement. Now here's the powerful truth behind all of this. People invest memory where they invest emotion. Memory follows meaning. If he consistently remembers small details about you, it's because you hold meaning in his life. But here's the actionable tip you can apply immediately. Start paying attention to who remembers your details. Not just in romantic situations, but in general. Notice who brings up things you mentioned before. Notice who checks in about things that matter to you. Instead of focusing only on what people say they feel, observe what they remember. And at the same time, practice this yourself. The next time someone important to you shares something small, their favorite book, their fear, their goal, make a mental note. Bring it up later. Ask about it. Show that you listened. This simple habit strengthens every relationship in your life. Because remembering details is not about having a perfect memory, it's about having a caring heart. When someone remembers the smallest things about you, it means you are not invisible to them. You are seen. You are heard. You matter enough for your words to stay. And in a world where many people feel overlooked, that kind of attention is rare and valuable. So don't ignore it when you see it. Small details often reveal the biggest feelings. Let's talk about something that looks simple on the surface but means a lot underneath. When a man tries to be around you, even without a clear reason, that behavior speaks louder than any confession ever could. Let's break this down step by step. First, understand this basic human truth. We naturally move toward what we care about. We give time to what matters. We create space for what feels important. Time is limited. Energy is limited. So when someone chooses to spend both on you, that choice is meaningful. If he keeps finding ways to be near you, it's not random. It's intentional, even if he pretends it's casual. Second, notice the no reason pattern. He might text you something small like, "Hey, what are you up to?" He might send a random meme. He might call to ask something he could easily Google. On the surface, it looks ordinary. But underneath, it's a simple truth. He wants connection. When feelings are deep but unspoken, men often avoid dramatic gestures. Instead of saying, "I miss you," he'll create a reason to talk. Instead of admitting, "I just want to see you," he'll say, "I was already nearby." These are emotional shortcuts. He hides the feeling, but the effort remains. Third, look at consistency. Anyone can show up once. But does he keep showing up? Does he sit next to you when there are other empty seats? Does he join events you're attending? Does he extend conversations when they could easily end? Consistency reveals intention. If he repeatedly chooses proximity, that's not coincidence. That's preference, and preference is powerful. Fourth, understand why he might not reveal it directly. Some men fear rejection. Some don't want to appear too eager. Some are unsure if their feelings are returned. So instead of expressing vulnerability, they express presence. Presence feels safer than confession. It's easier to say, "I just happened to be here," than to say, "I came because I wanted to see you." Now let's look at what this means emotionally. When someone wants to be around you, it usually means they feel good in your presence. You bring comfort. You bring excitement. You bring peace. People don't chase environments that make them uncomfortable. They return to what feels emotionally rewarding. If he keeps choosing your company, it's because being around you feels valuable to him. Let me give you one clear practical example. Imagine you mention you're going to a small gathering with friends. He wasn't originally planning to go. Later, he shows up and says, "Oh, I decided to come last minute." He stays close during the event. He talks to others but keeps checking where you are. When you leave, he leaves shortly after. He never says, "I came because of you." But his actions quietly say it. That is proximity driven by emotion. Here's something else to notice. Sometimes he doesn't even need conversation. He just wants to be near you. Maybe you're both working on something, and he chooses the seat next to you. Maybe he doesn't talk much, but he stays. Silence with presence can mean comfort. When someone feels deeply, they don't always need constant interaction. Just being near the person is enough. Now here's the important shift for you as a viewer. Instead of focusing only on dramatic romantic words, start observing patterns of effort. Ask yourself, does he create opportunities to be around me? Does he make time when he could easily be doing something else? Because attention follows interest. Effort follows feeling. And here's one actionable tip you can apply immediately. The next time he creates a small excuse to talk or be around you, don't shut it down quickly. Instead, gently open the space. If he texts randomly, engage warmly. If he suggests meeting casually, say yes if you're comfortable. Give the connection room to breathe. At the same time, observe whether the effort is mutual. Healthy connection grows when both people lean in slightly. But remember this, you don't need to chase someone who truly wants to be near you. If he feels deeply, he will find a way to close the distance. Maybe not loudly, maybe not perfectly, but consistently. In life, people reveal their priorities through where they spend their time. If he keeps spending his around you without needing a clear reason, that reason might simply be this: you matter more than he's ready to admit. Let's talk about something that doesn't always look dramatic but carries deep meaning. When a man gets protective in subtle ways, it often reveals feelings he hasn't put into words yet. Now, step by step, let's understand what this really means. First, protection is instinctive. When someone becomes emotionally important to us, we naturally care about their safety and well-being. It's not about control. It's not about dominance. It's about concern. Real protection is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It simply shows up. If he has deep feelings for you, your comfort starts to matter to him. Your safety matters. Your emotional state matters, and that concern will appear in small actions. Second, subtle protection looks different from dramatic jealousy. It's not about him fighting people or acting aggressively. In fact, subtle protection is calm and controlled. It might look like him walking on the side of the street closer to traffic. It might look like him staying aware of your surroundings when you're in a crowded place. It might look like him asking you to text when you get home. These actions are small, but they are intentional. Third, pay attention to how he reacts when you're uncomfortable. If someone says something that bothers you, does he notice? If a situation feels unsafe or awkward, does he step in naturally? A man who feels deeply will become more alert around you. He will scan situations differently, not because he thinks you are weak, but because he feels responsible in some quiet way. That sense of responsibility often grows from emotional attachment. Fourth, understand that protection also shows up emotionally. It's not always physical. Sometimes it's about defending your name when you're not around. Sometimes it's about supporting you when others doubt you. If someone speaks negatively about you and he calmly corrects them or stands up for you, that's protection too. He might never tell you he did it, but he does it because your reputation matters to him. Now let's go deeper into why this happens. When a man develops strong feelings, his mindset shifts from me to we. Even if he hasn't admitted it, your problems start to feel like his problems. Your stress affects him. Your sadness bothers him. That emotional connection activates a natural desire to guard what he values. It's important to understand something here. Real protection never feels suffocating. It doesn't restrict your freedom. It doesn't tell you what to wear or who to talk to. That's control, not care. True subtle protection respects your independence while quietly supporting your well-being. Let me give you one clear practical example. Imagine you're at a social gathering. Someone keeps interrupting you while you're speaking. You don't say anything, but you clearly look frustrated. He notices. The next time you start talking and that same person tries to interrupt, he gently says, "Wait, I want to hear what she was saying." He gives you space to finish. He doesn't create drama. He doesn't make a scene. He simply ensures you're respected. That's subtle protection. Or imagine you mention you're feeling stressed about walking alone at night after work. The next time you're heading home late, he texts, "Message me when you're home safe." It's simple. It takes 5 seconds. But it shows he's thinking about your safety even when you're not physically together. Those small actions reveal deep care. Now here's something powerful. Protection often increases before confession. When feelings are strong but unspoken, actions carry the weight of emotions. He may not say, "I care about you deeply," but his behavior says, "I want you safe. I want you okay." And that's significant. However, as the viewer, you must also stay balanced. Don't confuse normal kindness with deep feelings. Look for patterns. Is he consistently protective? Does he show concern regularly? Does his attention increase when you're vulnerable or uncomfortable? Consistency is the key. Here's one actionable tip you can apply immediately. The next time he shows subtle protection, acknowledge it calmly. If he checks that you got home safe, respond with appreciation. Say something simple like, "That means a lot that you checked." When you appreciate protective behavior, you encourage healthy care instead of silent guessing. At the same time, observe how it feels. Does his protection make you feel safe and respected, or controlled and restricted? Healthy protection should feel supportive, not limiting. Remember this. When someone values you deeply, they don't just enjoy your presence. They feel responsible for your well-being in small, quiet ways. They become attentive to your comfort. They pay attention to your environment. They step in gently when needed. Subtle protection is not loud. It doesn't need applause, but it reveals something powerful beneath the surface, a heart that cares more than it says. Let's talk about something most people overlook, but it rarely lies. His body language. When a man has deep feelings but doesn't say them out loud, his words may stay controlled, but his body often tells the truth. And if you learn to read these signals step by step, you'll start seeing what he's trying to hide. First, understand this simple truth. Emotions affect the body automatically. You can control your sentences, you can rehearse what to say, but controlling your physical reactions is much harder. When we feel nervous, excited, attracted, or emotionally invested, our body responds before our mind filters it. That's why body language is powerful. Second, look for changes in behavior specifically around you. The key word here is changes. How does he act with other people? Is he relaxed, loud, confident? Now compare that to how he acts with you. Does his tone soften? Does he become slightly quieter? Does he seem more alert? When feelings grow, awareness grows. He becomes more conscious of how he stands, how he speaks, how he appears in front of you. That extra awareness creates small shifts in posture and movement. Third, pay attention to eye contact. Eye contact is one of the strongest nonverbal signals of emotional connection. If he holds your gaze a little longer than normal, that's meaningful. If he looks at you when you're not looking at him and quickly looks away when you catch him, that's meaningful too. Eyes reveal interest. When someone feels deeply, they naturally want to look at the person, not in a dramatic way, but in a drawn, almost automatic way. And sometimes, if the feelings are intense, eye contact can even make him nervous. Fourth, notice proximity. Does he sit closer to you even when there's space elsewhere? Does he lean in when you speak? Leaning forward shows engagement. It signals that he values what you're saying. It also shows comfort with closeness. Physical orientation matters too. If his body faces you directly during group conversations, that's a sign of focus. Our bodies often point toward what captures our attention the most. Fifth, look at nervous habits. When emotions are strong but unspoken, the body sometimes releases tension through small movements. He might adjust his watch, run his hand through his hair, shift his weight, clear his throat. These are subtle signs of heightened awareness. It doesn't mean he's uncomfortable with you. It often means he cares about how he's perceived by you. Let's make this real with one practical example. Imagine you're in a group setting. He's talking confidently with others. He's relaxed. But the moment you join the conversation, something changes. His voice lowers slightly. He makes more eye contact with you than anyone else. He laughs a little harder at your jokes. When you speak, he stops what he's doing and listens closely. At one point, you catch him looking at you while you're distracted. He quickly looks away, pretending to focus on something else. That shift, from general confidence to heightened attention, is body language responding to emotion. Now here's something important. Body language works best when you look for patterns, not isolated moments. Anyone can act nervous once. Anyone can make eye contact randomly, but when you consistently notice that his posture, tone, or energy changes specifically around you, that's when it becomes meaningful. Also understand that not all changes look dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. A softer smile, a slightly straighter posture, a calmer tone. Or the opposite, playful teasing that hides nervous excitement. Emotions don't always show up in obvious ways, but they leave traces. Here's the actionable tip you could apply immediately. The next time you're around him, don't just listen to his words. Observe calmly. Compare how he behaves with you versus others. Notice his eye contact, his posture, his distance. You don't need to analyze obsessively. Just become aware. At the same time, check your own body language. Are you open or closed off? Are you making eye contact? Sometimes, creating a relaxed and welcoming posture encourages him to feel safer expressing what he feels. Remember, communication is not just verbal. In fact, a large part of human connection happens without words. When someone has deep feelings but struggles to say them, the body often carries the message. So instead of waiting for a confession, start noticing the silent signals. His body might be telling you a story his mouth isn't ready to speak yet. Let's talk about one of the clearest emotional signals. Even when no one says a word, when a man struggles to see you with someone else, that reaction often reveals feelings he hasn't admitted yet. Now, step by step, let's understand why this happens. First, understand what emotional attachment does. When someone develops deep feelings, they start to imagine a connection, even if it's not official, even if nothing has been spoken. In his mind, there's a quiet hope, a possibility, a maybe. And when another person enters the picture, that maybe feels threatened. Second, jealousy is not always loud. It's not always dramatic or aggressive. In fact, when feelings are hidden, jealousy often shows up in subtle ways. His mood might shift. He might go quiet. He might suddenly change the topic. He might pretend not to care. But his energy feels different. That shift is important. If he truly had no feelings, your interest in someone else wouldn't affect him emotionally. He might react casually or even supportively without hesitation. But when there are deep feelings, something inside tightens. Third, pay attention to timing. Does he seem fine until you mention another guy? Does his tone change? Does he become less playful? Sometimes he may even start asking small questions like, "Oh, how long have you known him?" Or, "So you guys talk a lot." These questions may sound neutral, but they often come from a place of comparison and concern. Fourth, understand the internal conflict he might be facing. If he hasn't expressed his feelings, he may feel he has no right to be jealous, so he tries to hide it. He tells himself, "I can't react," I never told her how I feel. That creates tension. He wants to stay composed, but emotionally, it bothers him. That internal struggle often leaks through body language and tone. Fifth, notice effort changes. Sometimes when he senses competition, he increases effort. He texts more. He tries to make you laugh more. He shows up more often. Not because he suddenly changed, but because he feels urgency. When someone values something deeply, the possibility of losing it creates action. Let's make this real with one practical example. Imagine you casually tell him, I went out for coffee with a guy from work today. You say it normally, nothing dramatic. But he pauses for a second before responding. He says, oh, nice. His tone is slightly flatter. He doesn't ask many follow-up questions. Later that evening, he randomly sends you a message to start a conversation. The next time you mention the same guy, he makes a small teasing comment like, seems like you talk about him a lot. He's trying to stay cool. But something clearly affects him. That reaction is emotional investment showing itself. Now here's something very important. Healthy jealousy is not about control. It's not about telling you who you can talk to. It's not about anger or possessiveness. It's about emotional discomfort when the person you care about becomes closer to someone else. If his reaction is respectful but slightly uneasy, that often signals depth. If his reaction becomes controlling or aggressive, that's a red flag. There's a difference. You must learn to separate caring from controlling. Another sign is comparison. When he hears about another man, he may subtly try to highlight his own strengths. He might talk more about his achievements, or remind you of shared memories. This isn't random. It's his way of protecting his place in your life. Because deep down, he doesn't want to be replaced. Now here's the actionable tip you can apply immediately. The next time you notice his energy shift when you mention someone else, don't jump to conclusions. Instead, calmly observe and create space for honesty. You might gently say something like, you got quiet just now. What's on your mind? Say it without accusation. Say it with curiosity. This does two powerful things. It shows emotional maturity, and it gives him a safe opening to express what he's been holding back. Sometimes people struggle to admit feelings because they fear rejection or embarrassment. A calm and open response from you can lower that fear. At the same time, remember your value. You are allowed to have options. You're allowed to talk to other people. If he has deep feelings, it is his responsibility to express them clearly, not expect you to guess forever. But when a man genuinely struggles to see you with someone else, especially in subtle and respectful ways, it often means this. He has already placed you in a space in his heart that he doesn't want to share. And even if he hasn't said it out loud yet, his emotional reaction tells a story. Words are still catching up to. Here's the truth. Some men don't reveal feelings because they're scared. Scared of rejection. Scared of vulnerability. Scared of losing control. But emotions always leak through behavior. If he remembers the details, seeks your presence, protects you quietly, shows it through body language, and reacts when someone else enters the picture, chances are his feelings run deeper than he says. Now here's your power. Don't chase words. Watch actions. Love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's hidden in the quiet effort. If you've noticed these signs, don't ignore them. Observe, communicate, and most importantly, value yourself enough to accept only clarity and respect. Because the right connection doesn't just feel deep, it becomes honest.